Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel today. We're back on GT Sport and we're back with the FIA manufacturers round number 2 at Kyoto in Group 4. So I wasn't really looking forward to this race in terms of performance. I was looking forward to it in terms of just having a race here, but I didn't expect much out of the Mustang, as you would have been able to tell from the live stream title. So we've got the footage on like I've been doing now for the latest videos, so you can see all the splits now. Just take a look at these qualifying times from P1 all the way up to myself with quite a surprising qualifying, I have to say. I managed to put the car in P5. Now, I did use a slipstream. I knew this was the only way of getting towards the front, and I managed to do it and hook the lap up while I did it. So we could have actually slightly improved the lap, but, you know, we still managed to get a decent lap in there in P5 with the Mustang, which I can tell you was not a particularly great car for this track. It was just turn 1 and the really long, fast left downhill corner. After the really fast flowing section, really struggled through there, so you lost quite a bit of time, which you'll see during the race. And you see someone there with their windscreen wipers on, not giving nothing away. That's coming in an update very soon, honestly. Anyway, there you can see there's someone else using my livery, PR1 Jimbray, using my livery on his Group 4 Mustang. Now that is the first of the next Mustangs in this race, so P12 was the next of the best of Mustangs really, so it shows how good my lap really was in P5. And this really does show that P15 TRL Adam, probably in my opinion one of the fastest Ford drivers around, really knows the car, has used it in many seasons, he's used it in time trial. Like, he's very fast with the Ford, and he was down in 15, so I was really impressed with my lap of a 39.1. And what's even more amazing about this is all the way down to P18, from P1 to P18 on this qualifying grid for the top split race, there was half a second separating 18 cars. Now, just to put that into perspective, I have watched some other people's videos where split 3 and 4 and stuff. I think split 3 that actually got more points than myself. Now, their pole position time wouldn't have even got them in the top 18 of this race. It really does show you the point situation going on. But we're going to concentrate on this race, starting from P5, and straight away I've got the NSX in front of me, and you'll see obviously the Mustang much faster than the NSX down the straight, so we're going to get a little bit of slipstream. And my aim for this race was really just to try and lose as little positions as possible, because I knew that this race was going to be a case of holding on, because the Mustang, not particularly great round it, and the tyre wear was so extreme for myself. I mean, some of it was possibly my style, the way I drive. At Interlagos, there was no issue with the tyres. I had pretty much reasonably good tyre wear all the way through the end. I compared it with other drivers, and the tyres were good on the Mustang. But this track, with my driving style and this car, was pretty much the worst combination for tyre wear. I think Tijani actually checked on his stream, and my tyres were actually worse than anyone else in this race towards the end. So it really does show you that the Mustang is not the best on tyres. But you see the NSX starting to pull away a bit, but I'm just in the slipstream range at the moment as you go through the really fast chicane, and it looks like their Jim B Racing front there has actually cut that corner slightly. He's going to pick up a penalty. You see as we go up to the top of the hill, he's got a half a second penalty. And I'm going to go for this move anyway because he made the mistake. So I got myself alongside on the inside, take a very narrow, tight apex on the power in third gear. He gave me a little tap there where he was obviously trying to get on the power a bit too early. And the Mustang struggles to get on the power early at that corner. Another area where you do lose a little bit of pace in the Mustang. But now, the problem I've got now is if you look up ahead, the Toyota 86s are picking up a slipstream off the Jaguar, which is also a very fast car at this track. Jaguar, Lexus, and then the Toyota 86 behind it just sitting in there picking up a slipstream. So I'm pretty much not got a chance of catching up that group ahead, and I've not got a slipstream now to defend against the cars behind. So I've just got to pretty much run my own race now. We're in P4. I expect to go backwards a little bit from this position. I really didn't think we'd stay at this position, because you can see on the Delta through the really fast corners, just look at the difference compared to the Mustang. I lose 2-3 temps just on that corner, and then this section obviously isn't too bad because you've got the power of the Mustang. But then through this next really fast left-hand corner, this is where the Mustang really suffers again. It just doesn't have the ability to carry the speed through corners like this. But I knew that when I picked Ford, so I went into this race just looking for a bit of fun, and to qualify in P5 was a bit of a shock, if I'm brutally honest. So I outdid the car in a way, and there's going to be other races with a lot of opportunities for this Ford Mustang, particularly in Monza in Group 4, as we now go downhill into the chicane again. And for some reason in this race I really wasn't hooking this chicane up very well. The odd lap that lap was pretty okay, gave me the ability to actually get a bit of a gap to that BMW behind me, who's actually picked up a penalty. So again, at this point of the race, everything seems to be going my way. B Racer, penalty in front. The car behind me now is also got a penalty, and it seems to all be flowing towards me at the moment. But you can see the group in front, they're pulling away. Another half a second pretty much, or more, maybe, yeah, half a second on this lap they've gained. Some areas I can gain a little bit, but because they're all slipstreaming each other, it's a shame that B Racer made that mistake at that point, because I think if he would have been able to hang on to Manuel Rodriguez up ahead in the NSX, which I think he would have been able to do, because the NSX is a bit more of a handling car, and with no tyre wear issues this season, I think it would have been able to, you know, hang on a little bit more than what I could in the Mustang, even if I was in the slipstream. Because if I had got in that slipstream, it might have helped me out for possibly 4 laps, something like that, and then I think it would have been over, because the Mustang's tyre, you can already see it on the telemetry, the right front tyre is really struggling. I'm trying to push this car, obviously, because I've got to go for it. I think if I would have just tried to save tyres, I would have slowly gone back towards these cars that are behind me, and if I would have been getting overtaken by Carl Williams and other drivers on lap 2 and 3, I think then we would have been very vulnerable in terms of, you know, dropping down the order. So I just wanted to drive aggressive, push it. We've only got 8 laps in this race. As you see there, Carl Williams able to carry so much more speed through that fast left-hand corner, and that really does show you just how poor this Mustang is. But like I say, it's kind of expected with the size and the weight of this Mustang. It's one of the heaviest Group 4 cars on the grid, but it's really fun. I do enjoy driving it. It feels really nice. It feels planted. It does actually suit my driving style, which is quite surprising, because I normally go for MR cars, as we decide to pretty much let Carl Williams through on the inside there. He's my teammate for esports and cars, as you can see there, so I'm not going to fight that position. I just tuck back in, lift off the throttle a little bit on the apex you've seen, and tuck back in now and try basically to use him for a lap or 2 of slipstream, because he might be able to help me out in terms of my overall race pace by just sitting in his slipstream, giving me a bit of an advantage down the straight. This final corner, when the tyre wear was there, this final corner, the Mustang was really strong, you can see, able to stay very close and actually get a better exit and start gaining down the straight. But you can see what I do here, I'm turning to the right and flashing him again, so I'm trying to make it clear that don't worry, I'm not going to go for the move, and I think he's took that signal there and stuck to the normal racing line, because I think without me doing that, he would have probably gone very defensive on the inside, and we'd have both lost time. But he took that signal, he knew what I was probably going to do. He's a member of my esports team, he probably knows that in that situation I'm going to think of my race rather than battling him in a better car for this track than what I've got at the moment. As we now go on the uphill section, and again you can see the Mustang is starting to pick up the speed on this part. This is where the Mustang quite decent in terms of race pace, but then down through this left hand corner again, it just wants to understeer all the way through the corner. I just can't get on the throttle. The gearing also doesn't help the car out too much through there, because it's a mid-corner shift. Normally you want the car to be in a gear ratio where you're accelerating all the way through the corner in that one gear, but this corner is a corner that actually is pretty well geared for the Mustang. You can see stays in 4th gear. I can accelerate all the way through the corner and stay in 4th gear, no real issue there. So that corner quite well geared in terms of the ratios for the Mustang. And this actually brings me to one point about Group 4 cars. I think that the gearing is very important to determine how competitive a car can be in the race. We saw the Ferrari 458 become very competitive at Goodwood. Now the reason I think it was good there was a lot of it was because of the gearing. Now it obviously has traits that make it reasonably good at that track, but I think the gearing really helps it out at that track. I don't think the Ferrari is going to be particularly strong at every track it comes to now with this new physics. I just think that track actually suited the Ferrari's gearing, and gearing seems very important on GT Sport. That's why the FT1 is quite strong at certain tracks, because of the long gearing, specifically this track. That really does highlight the issue. The long gearing through some of these really long flowing corners like this, where you're just able to stay in one gear and just keep the throttle down all the way through without changing gear. And it just keeps that momentum all the way through there, as we're still just about holding on to P4 slipstream there. And we've got B Racer, you see, coming back through in the NSX. So that shows you that he did have a bit more race pace, and it is a shame in a way that he made that error, because I think he would have been able to hang on to that group up ahead and maybe keep me a little bit closer to them, and that might have then made my life a little bit easier towards the end of this race, because I would have let Carl Williams pass pretty much no matter what. If he was all over the rear, I wouldn't fight him, because I think it would have been affecting his race, and also it would have probably affected mine if I would have tried to battle that. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you have P8, 9, 10, 11 all over your rear because you're trying to fight for one position. We let him go. We hang onto his slipstream, as you can see there, just about picking it up nearly at the moment. For a few laps, we gained maybe a second out of that, maybe even more. But what would we have lost if we would have battled it? Who knows? As now B Racer is pretty much looking like he's going to be able to make a pass very soon. I'm going to try and fight this position to B Racer a little bit more, because one, he's not my teammate, and two, he's in a slower car down the straight. So I had a feeling I might be able to protect myself against that NSX. As you can see, he's able to take much tighter lines for that corner. But now he's going to pick my slipstream up. But will he have the straight line speed when he's in the slipstream? It doesn't look like he's going to have the ability to go for a move at the end of lap 5. So we cross the line at the end of lap 5. You know, we've only got 3 more laps to go now, and we're still in P5 where we started, which is better than I expected, if I'm honest. And what's helping now is it looks like Tidgeney's coming through and putting B Racer under some pressure. Now, Tidgeney's race pace was extremely strong around here in the TT Cup. Unfortunately for him, his qualifying got a little bit ruined by, and it wasn't a deliberate mistake. I think it was just some Tuscan wasn't thinking, press the pause button, and unfortunately Tidgeney was right in the path. So a little bit of advice: don't ever press pause in qualifying. Just move over, make sure the coast is clear on the track map, and then press pause, because it can affect all whoever's racing. As we now go downhill, and we're going to pick up the slipstream from Jim B Racer. We're really close behind his bumper here now, and he brakes very early, and that kind of catches me by a little bit by surprise. So I have to brake early, and then Tidgeney then has to brake early because I've braked early, and he taps me in the rear, and it takes him offline a bit, and he actually gets a penalty for that. I think there he picked up half a second penalty, but I'm going to go defensive here, because at this point I wasn't sure if he had a penalty. I haven't looked behind, didn't really want to look at this point of the race. It was quite a tense moment in the race. You can see got cars all around me, and we just about managed to hold on to that position as we come into the really fast chicane now. Again, this is a very tricky corner, trying to pick up some form of a slipstream off Jim in front of the Jim B Race in front, and we run a little bit wide there, getting a little bit of dirt on the tyres, and this is going to affect me into this final corner, which I did know, so I braked a little bit early. You can see the rear getting a little bit loose. We managed to hold on to that as we now go powering down the main straight to start the final 2 laps. You can see there that Tidgeney in the rear view mirror did pick up a penalty. I think it was only half a second or something like that, but that's enough to drop him back behind Kaus there. And now we've got that Lamborghini behind us, and now again another car that was extremely strong through these fast corners. Kind of makes sense when you think about it, because like I said, I think I said it on the stream, at Tokyo Expressway when we've got daily races there, what car is the overpowered car? It's the Lamborghini, because it's so fast through fast corners. It's able to hold a very tight line and very large amounts of speed. As you see, I'm going to have to go defensive now on the inside, and then I'm going to have to really try and take a very lower speed through the apex, because I don't want him getting the undercut on me. He goes to try and do the undercut, but because I get reasonable exit speed because I've lowered the speed on the apex, he just can't do that with the speed of the Mustang. So he's going to have to just tuck back into my slipstream and try and find somewhere else to go for this move. So we've got another lap and a bit to defend from Kauster in this race. One thing I will say about this race, it was a little bit disappointing how short it was. I think I would have preferred a lower tyre wear ratio, maybe times 4 and another 3 laps on top of this. I think 8 laps felt just a little bit too short for me. I felt it was a bit, it felt like as soon as it started it was coming towards an end, and the racing has been really good so far. I really enjoy these races where it's more about flat out driving. There's none of this worrying about fuel. For me in this race it was a little bit of worry with tyre wear. You can see we're on 4 to the rear bias. We're trying to save that front tyre as much as possible. We could have gone 5 to the rear, but I felt 4 to the rear just offered a bit more performance advantage in certain corners. As you see, that right front is really struggling, but we get a good exit from that final corner starting the final lap, and that's protected my lead now going into turn 1 from Kauster in that Lamborghini. But again, what you're going to see now is going into turn 1, he takes a bit of a different line there. I think he actually ran a bit wide, and that's actually give Tidgeney a little bit of a look up on Kauster, and he's going to pick up the slipstream now through this really fast flowing section. But again, look at the speed of Kauster through here. He's obviously got the slipstream. The cars are going to be right on the rear of me very soon. You see got right up beside me, he's long side. I'm going to go on the inside and squeeze him out to the right slightly. And then again, we're going to try and hold a very narrow line to his apex. He's going to try and hang it around the outside. I have to get on the power a little bit earlier than what I would have liked, but I managed to do it nicely. And just about, again, stay ahead of Cal. So he's going to have a little look on the left, but you can see he's not going to go for that move. He's not going to risk this. In a public lobby, he might have gone for that, but I think in FIA, he's got more common sense than that. And just decides to hold back and stick in the slipstream. I'm probably thinking that maybe a P7 is better than possibly getting a penalty or something like that. But again, into this really tricky left-hand corner, I take a very narrow line there just to try and block any attempt of a lunge into that corner, just to make my intentions clear that he's not going to go for a move there. And now we're going through to one final place, but I've got to try and hook this corner up. This is one of the tricky corners where you can make a mistake easily. And I actually nailed that corner on the throttle all the way to the full track limits. And going into the final corner, you can see now he's not going to be able to go for a move here. He does brake very late, but the Mustang was fairly strong on this final corner. Able to get out of the corner in third gear, powering out now. And we come home with a very, very solid P6 in the Mustang. Now, it's not an amazing result, but this is top split racing, and to pick up a P6 in a car like the Mustang at this track, which it really isn't a good track for, felt really rewarding. You can see there, P12 was the next Mustang, so we outperformed the Mustang really at this track, I feel, especially in qualifying. The qualifying result gave me that result because my race pace was not good enough to really get into that position through any other means. For example, Tidgney had the race pace to work his way up. I did not have that. I expected to go down quite a bit, but we managed to hold on to P6. So quite a nice surprise to pick up a P6 and some solid points in this race as we now go into round 2 and we come out with 2.2, I think we got for this race. Let's have a little look. Yeah, 2.2k. Some not amazing points, but we've talked about the point situation, but you know, it's still solid. It could have been better, obviously, but if we were in a different split or something, maybe split 2 or 3, we could have picked up more points. But for this lobby, I think that is a really well done job, and we can move on to the next round now, where hopefully these next few races we can maybe pick up some bigger points, maybe looking at 2.5s, 2.6s, something like that, I think, in the car that we're going to be in. Obviously, we're driving the Ford GT for the Group 3 races, and we've got some quite solid tracks coming up for the Ford GT, so it's going to be really interesting if we can pick some good results up with that car. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that race. It was really fun racing, a lot of defensive driving towards the end, just hanging on in there with that extreme right front tyre wear. But I feel I did a good job and we come away with a solid result. I hope you enjoyed that video. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed, and click that notification button so you don't miss any future videos. We will be streaming as much as possible. And if you want to check out the live stream, obviously go onto my streams and you will see that this race was live streamed and it'll be all on there. Anyway, thanks again for watching. I'll see you all soon.